Under the cover of night, along the long road that stretches between the High Kingdoms and the small town of Kylie, you and your team are preparing for the job ahead of you. You were told the merchant's wagon was making its way across the pass when the moon hits the highest point. The information you received you considered solid. You acquired it yourself through your contact from the kingdom's town guard. It's been a while since you've had a good meal, and while you sit with your eyes peeled, you are dreaming of the sweetbreads back home. Your mouth begins to water and your mind continues to wander. One of your partners nudges your shoulder. The cart is approaching and it's time to ambush. You take a quick look to assess the situation. You see a single cart pulled by what looks like a single donkey and guided by a cloaked and wiry man with a wide-brimmed hat. The plan itself was simple. Crowd the wagon and make threats until he hands over the gold, and by the looks of it, this seems like an easy target. Your team springs into action, running full tilt towards a small carriage, swords drawn. The merchant seems slightly unfazed. In fact, he quietly halted his donkey and let out a loud, breathy sigh. "Hand over the chest and no one gets hurt," you call out. The merchant chuckled softly. "You might want to reconsider." Taking off his wide-brimmed hat, and beneath it shimmers a circle of silver, glowing faintly of runes. You hesitate only for a second. In that moment, the merchant raises his hands and speaks words you cannot understand. The air crackled with energy as a shimmering barrier enveloped the wagon. You stagger back. One of your comrades desperately swings his sword, but the blade clanged harmlessly against the barrier. The man smirked, raising an eyebrow. You should have chosen your target more wisely. And then the ground beneath you erupts. Vines, summoned by what looks like the old man's hat, snake around your legs, pulling you down to the ground. Your comrades call for mercy, but all you can think of is the delicious sweetbreads you could buy with the sale of this wizard's hat.
Welcome to another background episode of the It's a Mimic podcast, where you never know what you're going to get.
Hello, I'm Megan, and with me as usual is Adam, and today we are joined by Sean on this episode called Criminal Background Check.
This episode covers all the things about the criminal background from the 2024 Player's Handbook that you might need to know.
All right, so let's jump right into it. So the criminal background speaks for itself a little bit, obviously, as of course references that you come from a history of crime and general wrongdoing. This can be from growing up on your own, on the streets, and learning to survive through small, burglaries and things like that, all the way up to being a part of potentially a much larger mob mentality group, or at least, generalized folks and gangs. This can also include, of course, my favorite religious groups religious groups in general, or my favorite, cults, which might sound contentious, but in reality, there is no reason why one group of folks would not take advantage of their social positioning, whether being by good means or evil means. Which also means why not include governments and monarchies? For instance, I would consider the Sheriff of Nottingham from Robin Hood probably a criminal. Basically, what I'm trying to get here is that criminal behavior does not always have to be represented by law-abiding versus non-law-abiding, and can come in all shapes and sizes if you start to explore the morality of things. For instance, stereotypically in D&D, this would fit well with rogues or bards, which can be sneaky thieves or charismatic swindlers. But why not your warlock who worships their deities through acts of hardships on others? So doing evil acts, but you consider it to be good because you're a warlock and you're doing good by your deity or your group or your following. Other than your skill set's not really fully aligning, this is a reminder that it also means that you could avoid overlap in skill selection. So if you're going with rogues and bards who tend to have the same kind of skill sets, going for things off the cuff, like a warlock, would kind of give you that kind of balance. You get a little bit from one side, a little bit from the other side. And by basically helping you think outside the box, consider maybe a fighter who just works as a bouncer for a prestigious local fighting ring and shakes you down, or just shakes down you or the contestants, usually just using their physical prowess to their advantage, and just taking your things because they can, like a little high school bully, perhaps. Again, what I'm getting at here is that anyone or anything can be considered a criminal. It is in the eye of the moral beholder. So you can always get creative with it.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that literally every single Dungeons and Dragons character that I have ever met has been a criminal to some degree.
Correct. We murder for fun.
And you loot too, right?
Yep.
Like this is someone's ancestral crypt you are stealing from.
Grave robbers, right?
Just because Granny has risen from the dead to eat your flesh does not mean that you get to take her shit.
Or desecrate her corpse, for that matter.
Touche.
Well, I mean, we gotta have a good time.
Jesus Christ.
Anyways, into the numbers of it all. This is the most straightforward. Like, we've done a few of them at this point. I think we've recorded all but one of them at this point. But like some of them, I raise my eyebrows at and I go, how the fuck did Wizards of the Coast get here? Criminal? No. This one is on the nose. I don't think I need to say any of this out loud. People will just be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, okay, sure, I got that. Yes. So I want to start off by saying again, ability scores, you increase 1 by 2 and 1 by 1, or you can choose all three of the options and increase each of them by 1. And the options here are dexterity, constitution, and intelligence. If you want charisma, go check out the charlatan. You're kind of in the same realm, but you're charisma E as opposed to these three. So
yeah.
If you want to get strength, I like replace one of them with strength. I don't mind that because these are great for cat burglars, dexterity, constitution, intelligence. Yeah, cat burglars or people that poison or spies or shit like that. Yes, sure, great. What about mooks and henchmen? I want some strength, maybe, and I like that idea.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of get at with like using like the bouncers of like a club that like make you give bribes before they let you in. Like just small things like that, and petty crime can also be considered criminal background, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So skill proficiencies are in sleight of hand and stealth, which surprises literally no one. But if you already get one of those from another source, I like perception, investigation, and acrobatics. They make sense. Acrobatics really just because of the cat burglar trope and also the fact that dex is a big factor. So it just makes sense for like master thieves or even like street level pickpockets, and of course athletics for the bruiser type that we were talking about. When it comes to like con men and that kind of thing, charlatan. You're in the wrong background. We have one for you. So looking at the tools, you get, again, no one is surprised, thieves' tools, right? These are good for picking locks or disarming traps, which are great, and that makes sense, and so it's good. And I have nothing else to say except I'm Adam on It's a Mimic, so I always have more to say. So let's keep talking. So thieves' tools are great for disarming traps, but what about setting traps? I want mechanics for that shit too. If you've got a criminal background, I would let you like get some simple traps. And I'm thinking like little bear traps or setting up a snare or something like that. Yeah, I'd totally let you do that with your thieves' tools and a sleight of hand check, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. Because like, if you have a criminal background, you would assume that you might have enemies.
Yeah.
So self-preservation is probably something you would do and look into.
You've probably booby-trapped your windows, right? Yeah. So the next thing, sorry, 1 second. So the next thing is, if you've already got a rogue in the party, but you want the criminal background anyway, what are you going to do? The poisoner's kit is a good alternative if you want to go in that direction. It's like antitoxins more than poison, but poisoner's kit, sure. Forgery kit might be a better choice in a political campaign, or a disguise kit might be good if you're high profile, like you are the most high profile burglar in the realm, or you're a criminal on the run, maybe. I like jeweler's tools if you're like a dealer or a smuggler or a fence, right? Like maybe you can use it to appraise things and to deal with like artifacts. And of course, there are other just generic ones like cook's utensils, brewer's supplies, alchemist supplies. These are all great options because every criminal has a hobby, right? So like, what's your passion? What are you doing in your downtime? When you're not thieving and burgling, what are you doing? So
a wood carver, he says.
Yeah. In between my home invasions, I like to whittle.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're kind of going with like the stereotypical rogue character, I can't remember, but do they get disguise kits in their like
no
tool base? No. So again, like even if you're going for that whole like you are a popular and famous or well-known criminal, like having a disguise kit just makes sense to me. I feel like that one should actually be in there. but that's just me. But then to your point, you get that with the charlatan. So it's like, so it's kind of hard to draw that line sometimes, I guess.
I don't like the criminal for the rogue. I just don't. You're doubling up on literally everything. I want the charlatan for the rogue. I want the criminal for the bard.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right? So
yeah, charisma. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. I the other one that I thought was actually a lot of fun when it came to tools was the alchemist supplies, because they're a great option for criminals if you don't want to step on any of the rogue's toes or anything, because chances are they don't get to craft acid, alchemist, fire, component pouches, oil, paper, or perfume. And I could come up with entire plot hooks based on every single one of those, and just all sorts of interesting role-playing opportunities or like unique combat scenarios where I'm just going to be like, hey, you know what? I'm going to reach in and I'm going to grab this oil or whatever. And I just think there's a lot of options there. And, if you're a thug, carpenter's tools let you craft clubs, great clubs, quarterstaffs, and portable rams. And I mean, that's always useful, right?
You basically just described having wood skills, basically just to make long wooden poles.
A boy needs a
Very
hug.
crafty. Very crafty.
Yeah. So that's everything that I've got on the basic numbers and what we're looking at as far as the kits go. There are good options out there. I do like how at the beginning of the chapter, it does say that, all this stuff is optional. Here are the examples. But most people just want to pick out of the book. Just, if you're going to pick out of the book, feel free to massage it how you want.
Yeah, it's all about flavor, right?
Yeah.
Covering the feat that we get with this origin is the alert feat, which gives you two benefits. The first being that when you roll an initiative, you can add your proficiency bonus to the roll. And the second one being kind of neat, and I actually like this specifically for the bard, in that you can swap initiative with a willing PC, assuming you don't have the incapacitated condition, of course. Where this comes in handy in my head is if you are that bard that needs to get, some inspiration up and going for the rest of the party, and you want to be able to get it done quickly, and you could turn around and say, hey, listen, let me take your initiative real quick. We'll roll right through it. We'll get it set up early so everybody gets the benefit from it, and rock and roll from there.
I got to say, the other thing too is the assassin. I don't know how it looks. I haven't dug into all the subclasses in 5.5 yet. But in 5th edition, if you were the assassin rogue, you were getting bonuses to any creature that hasn't gone yet in initiative, right? So if you were attacking someone that hasn't gone yet, then being able to get higher in initiative was so important.
Absolutely. It would be really, really critical. So this does actually also lend itself to the rogue as well. I like the rogue, I like the bard, I like the ranger for this as well. Being able to capitalize on position for sneak attack as well would be fantastic. Yeah.
I just want it for my monk so I can just go first and run up and hit things, but that's because that's how I play my monk character. So
hey, that works too. I love that.
Yeah.
As for the gear it gives you, you get to choose between its standard kit, which is 2 daggers, a set of thieves' tools, a crowbar, a couple of pouches, some traveler's clothes, and 16 gold points. Gold pieces, sorry. Or if you don't want to use that standard kit, you can go with the 50 gold points and gold pieces and buy your own. Man, getting stuck on that today. Given that thieves' tools are 25 gold though, and you get 16 gold on the side of it, you're already at 41 gold. 9 gold rounds out the rest of the kit. I think this is a pretty good buy just to go with the standard equipment. You're getting the proficiency with the thieves' tools in this background anyways. It's always good just to have them on hand. I love the idea of using the thieves' tools for setting traps as well as disabling them. I think that's, especially if you're in a chase scenario, you could even add a little bit of disadvantage to it, or, that could be a good time. And having them on hand is always just handy, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like you're going to be able to set up a pit trap, right?
No, but I mean, you could set up a fall trap on a door or something like that, right? Like,
yeah, or get your caltrops to do damage.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I would probably go out and buy a set of caltrops with the remaining 16 gold in tow as well. I do like if the criminal is more skinned towards a rogue, which I kind of feel as if it does fit that quite well. I do like having the daggers there as well. They're always handy, to use as jams, to use as all sorts of things.
Yeah, I gotta say, I think it's probably cheaper if you were to get the iron spikes to do the exact same thing. But I like daggers because literally every class is proficient with them, so it works for everyone with the criminal. Or that's the way it was in 5th edition anyway. So that just lends us to understanding that anyone can be a criminal if they really put their mind to it.
Or even just by accident.
Are you a criminal if by accident? Doesn't have to be intentional.
No.
You can break the law by accident, but does that make you a criminal?
Yes. By definition, you have broken a law, therefore you are a criminal at that point.
That can't be true. Not in 2025.
I call coercion. All right, so to round us off in terms of like the remaining features and things like that, what's missing from our 2014 old book?
Hold on, did we do the gear? Oh yeah, Sean did. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Wop, wop.
you're
It's
okay.
all good, man.
We're doing really well tonight.
Everything is great.
Yeah,
Yay!
exactly. Anyways, to kind of round us off, some of the missing features that we have in the 2024 book in comparison to the 2014 one. I do find the criminal in 2014 it did have a little bit more to work with. Of course, the proficiencies that you got were deception and stealth, which definitely fits, along with your thieves' tools. But you also get proficiency in gaming sets. So I guess this is in my mind moving it, again, that felt more charlatan that you have a gaming set that you could probably use to swindle other folks. But I think thematically, again, to your point, Adam, everybody deserves a hobby. You kind of got that in the 2014 book. For equipment, you actually got a crowbar. I think that is very on the nose. But also you get dark common clothes. That is very specific. That includes a hood. It just has to be mentioned that it is a dark common clothes with a hood.
Does it have to say Metallica across the chest?
Could you imagine?
No, just Dark Side of the Moon.
Oh, Lord. And then you get your 15 GP to start, that gold piece says. But the feature you get is actually called Criminal Contact, which basically just alludes to the fact that you are aware of other criminals and how they are connected, and that you can get messages to and from other criminals within your social network of basically other lawbreakers. So basically, you know all the other criminals around you, and you would have contacts that you communicate and get aid, help, or information from. So I think that bodes the fact that you are a part of a larger network, which earlier we were kind of talking about how you could potentially just be a criminal background and kind of like a lone ranger. But this kind of feat that you get from 2014 kind of breeds the fact that you kind of know people in your industry. They also ask you choose a criminal specialty, which it gives you 8 options, which is blackmailer, burglar, enforcer, fence, highway robber, hired killer, pickpocket, and a smuggler. So you actually are kind of forced into choosing one of these. It is a little D8 table that you can roll on if you want to do it randomly. Otherwise, you can definitely choose one. But I think that you could definitely come up with a more creative version as to why you might be a criminal in some way, shape, or form. But it is nice that they kind of give you a couple of creative jumping points. There is also a variant, which is called the Spy. This gives you literally no statistical boost other than giving you an occupation that is more efficient. I don't really know why they put a variant in. I don't think it is necessary. I feel like they could have just put spy in along with the criminal specialties. I don't think they really needed to call it a variant, but one of you can prove me wrong. I don't know, but I just feel like that was a bit of a waste of space and breath, but it's there if you want to read it. But yeah.
I do want to read it. I'm going to go read it now because I'm so curious.
The variant in 2014, yeah. It's very lackluster. It's variants usually give you something. This one really doesn't. It's just this is your job.
It literally says, can I read it verbatim?
You can, of course, yeah.
All right. Although your capabilities are not much different from those of a burglar or smuggler, you learned and practiced them in a very different context as an espionage agent. You might have been an officially sanctioned agent of the crown, or perhaps you sold the secrets you uncovered to the highest bidder. That's it. That's the end. That's everything you get.
That's it. There's no extra feat. There's no extra explanation. It's just I think they could have just put spy in with the other specialties and then called it a day. But that's just me.
And they should have replaced blackmailer, because I feel like blackmailer should be a charlatan, because you're gonna want the charisma and insight and all that crazy shit, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, blackmailer too could technically be I don't know, you can use muscle for that as well. But I agree. I feel like it fits more charlatan than even enforcer feels more charlatan than criminal. But I mean, that does kind of tie into our idea that bouncers and other ones that work for other criminals could be considered an enforcer, right?
Also, I feel like every single enforcer has a really hacky Bronx accent, New Jersey accent, or if you're classy, Italian accent. But there's no other options. Unless you're a gnome or a halfling, and then Irish will work. But
that's fair. I was gonna say, yeah, brawler with like a brawling burglar would definitely be an Irishman, in my opinion. But
fuck you.
Well, when you say it like that,
that's my gnome kneecapping someone in a back alley.
Fair enough. You know what? That sounds.
I hear it now, and I don't like it.
All right, team. Let's roll some dice. I've got some questions.
I got an at 20.
Oh, look at you!
I botched.
Well, like as in like a nat 1 or like?
Oh yeah,
nat
1, natural 1. We're done.
I love that for you guys. I got a 5, so we're doing great. Okay, Adam, first. So first question is, when it comes to D&D adventuring, do you think that this is a rich enough theme for players to be inspired by?
Crime is a rich enough idea that every player is inspired by it all of the fucking time. Every player has at least once in one campaign thought, this shopkeeper doesn't need these items. It'll be fine, right? And at what point have we ever come across an empty room where we just didn't start rifling through drawers to see what's in there?
Yeah.
Like, is it rich enough? Yes. It is built into the game. It is so thoroughly built into the concept of fantasy in the first place that goes all the way back to Bilbo being a thief as just, here's what you are contributing to our fantasy campaign.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's so OG, it's so on the nose, and I like it as a background a lot. I think it's going to be one of the ones that's the easiest for new players to kind of wrap their brains around. Whereas, like, how does an artisan work, or what does an acolyte do? That might be a little bit more dense for, a 17-year-old picking up the books for the first time and trying to figure out how all this shit works, right? So I really like the criminal background. I myself will never use it just because I am far more intrigued by the charlatan, but I really do like it.
Yeah, I mean, the charlatan from like the charismatic side of things does fit the bill a little bit more for like those heavy role-playing people. But here's the thing, I just did a campaign where everyone was required to take the criminal background. And then what we had to do in our backstory was find out what it was that we did to have a criminal background, right? Whether or not we were a part of the same gang or what have you, or what did we do to be like basically claimed as a criminal. And all of us had to take the same background. And I, as a seasoned player, at first I was like, that seems kind of like a little bit boring. But at the same time, the 4 players at the table came with varying degrees of reasons as to what makes them a criminal, right? So some folks did it like they're criminal by accident, like we were talking before, like they accidentally broke the law, but now they're dubbed and claimed as a criminal, so they're now thrown in jail. Some of us were like crime lords that were finally caught and taken down. Like it was again, varying degrees of criminal activity. And so I do agree that this does give quite a lot of inspiration to kind of kick off and start, because as we've been saying throughout this entire episode so far, there are so many different types of crime that we do every fucking day that, like, I think in one of our campaigns, one person's crime
as characters, Megan is not saying criminals in real life.
Hey.
We do not admit it on the public channels. That's for Patreon content only.
Fair enough. But yes, as playing characters that are players, I don't know. But yeah, so it is very interesting to see what people come to the table when you're required to have the same background. And I think that this is one of the ones that you could literally choose any direction and it would be fun to play. So, and what we did, I think, is a great idea for a starting party. Like if they're coming into D&D for the first time, getting to play with a criminal background sounds like a kind of fun thing to do. And again, forces people to be a little bit more creative, so it's not the same thing over and over again. So long-winded way of saying, yes, I think that this one has a strong enough theme to be creative for many different folks.
Yeah.
And I'm actually going to take it in a different direction, because I feel as if criminal is general enough that it can apply to any of the other backgrounds as well. Obviously, charlatan leads itself towards it. Can you be an acolyte and still be a criminal? Sure. Why not? Could you be an entertainer and still be a criminal? Yeah, sure. Why not? I feel almost as if criminal on its face is fairly mundane. It requires more flavor to it than just criminal by itself. Am I
Yeah,
making any
because like
sense?
because you could be an acolyte of a church, but you're stealing from the collection plate to feed your family,
Exactly.
right? So there's a
So-
lot of different options and directions to go.
So there is I mean, we don't talk about it much these days, but back in like 3.5 days and early D&D, it was a common idea that you would be what we called a Gish character, where you would be essentially running two classes. Every time that you leveled, you would get two classes. You would choose like fighter and wizard and get the benefits of both, right? Not, I don't think it was like hit points. Like you weren't getting the hit point bonuses or anything like that, but you were just a fucking god. So you would get all the spell casting and all the fighting stuff, and then if there was a feat, you'd get it like at level 3 or whatever, feats would unlock, and you would get it ×2, right? So like this was a thing. I don't like that for 5.5. I don't like it for 5th edition, but I've always loved the idea of giving backgrounds to players at the end of every tier. You guys were on the run as criminals for all of tier 2. You also now get all the benefits of the criminal background. Now you're not going to get a bonus, like a boost to your stat abilities, but suddenly getting proficiency in some skills, suddenly getting proficiency with some tools, getting the missing feature from if you're doing it in 5th ed, like it feels really good to start handing out different backgrounds. And if your players are doing really different things, they might get really different backgrounds, and then they would grow and change over the span of a campaign, right? So I also like the idea of, if you don't like doubling up the backgrounds, trade them out, right? You were raised a noble. That was your background. You've been adventuring for 2 years with this party. You are now, and as a bard, you're now an entertainer. You're no longer noble background, right?
Yeah, I remember talking about that in when a previous one episode of our backgrounds, I think, where we talked about how it would be really neat at a certain level, instead of taking like a stat boost, you take another background that is attuned to where you are now, like at level 6 or level 10 or like halfway through your campaign, especially if you're playing like the long-winded campaigns. Like, and I think we talked about this, Adam, because I was saying that my monk character who had noble as her background is no longer noble at all and is a very, very different character. So it would make sense for us to choose a different background for at some point or switch it out, right? So, but it is a little bit of mental gymnastics and mind math you have to do of what would that do to your stats and how does it affect how you operate, right?
I think it's going to make sense if you're going to do a time jump.
Yeah, that's true. Kind of update your full character sheet a little bit, give you the chance to kind of respec a little, like.
Yeah, and I honestly believe we would see way more criminal backgrounds if that was the case, because, like I say, every tier 1 D&D party is just murder hobos, right?
Oh yeah. Every time you lock a door in a dungeon, it's break and entering. Are you kidding? So like, get out of here.
Hey, zombies live in there. That's straight up compensation.
Yeah, that's their home. Get out. I think that kind of leads right into our next question, though, which is how do we feel about the mechanics of the criminal background themselves?
Absolutely fine. No notes. It is exactly what it needs to be.
Yeah, I agree. There's not really anything that I would change. To your point, maybe some of the equipment and maybe some of like, I don't know, maybe switch out a stat or two when you're kind of picking stuff out. But at the end of the day, I think it fits perfectly fine. I don't think you really need to do anything with it.
It's also super easy to wrap your head around when you're first like learning how to build a Dungeons and Dragons character. I would point someone to the criminal background because it's all synergistic and it all just makes sense.
Yeah, it's general enough that it can apply to so many different characters and builds that it's mechanically it's fairly sound. I do enjoy it.
Yeah. And then to compare it to the 2014 book, as I mentioned earlier, I just feel like it's very strange that they, don't get me wrong, they give you some ideas, but like the actual description of it kind of forces you in the direction of people and you are a well-known criminal. Whereas the criminal for 2024, the updated version, to your point, Sean, a lot more open-ended so that we don't have to, you could be a lone criminal or just someone living off the streets with a criminal like histoire, but you're not a well-known criminal yet, right? So, next question. What is a role-playing tip you have for someone who has never played as a criminal before? Which is a funny question to ask because we're saying that everybody plays as a criminal. You just don't know it.
My role-playing tip is that you don't have to be a criminal all of the time. And we talk about this way back in like the early days of It's a Mimic when we covered rogues the first time. Like before we even got into, I think, the subclasses, we were talking about you don't need to steal from your party members. You don't need to be consistently like criminals and rogues are some of the most egregious. Well, that is what my character would do, kind of player character. And, well, I wouldn't do this good thing to help the orphanage. You can have a full-fledged personality and still be a fucking criminal. You can come from a criminal background, get all the benefits of it, and not practice crime every second of every day. This is a background. It is not a cornerstone of your entire character's personality. And I think it's important that people remember that, specifically with criminal, because it's going to piss off the other people at the table if you keep not just like stealing from them, although yes, don't do that, but like if there's the opportunity to have a little bit of downtime and we've got to go break your ass out of jail again, right? Or we're sitting there having a conversation with the princess in the throne room and suddenly you fail something in like a check of some sort and the DM punishes you by having the jewels that you stole, the crown jewels, slide out of your sleeve and hit the floor, right? Like we don't always want this shit. It's not always funny. Remember that you being a criminal might be fun for you, but this is a collaborative game, and it doesn't have to be that thing that you rely on as a crutch for role playing.
Yeah, because it's definitely the opposite to like the lawful stupid, like lawful good police officer character. This is the polar opposite of that, where
it's a chaos demon.
You're basically a chaos demon, but just in the other direction, right? So I absolutely agree. I think that you do not have to play the criminal all the time. In fact, I was going to lean into it's okay to have a background that you're ashamed of as a player.
And as a person too, right, Megan?
And
right?
as a person too, you're allowed to have shame. It's okay. We all grow, we all learn, we all develop at different levels and stages of life. Adam behind, but that's okay.
I'm still developing.
I would hope not. But yeah, so I just feel like you can grow as a character and you can grow as a player. Like you can have a history that denotes that you're a criminal and that's why you have these skills, but that does not mean that you are actively operating in that business, right? So maybe you were a part of a gang way back in the day and then they did something that you don't like. So you actually excommunicated yourself and like left. So it is still in your history and it's a part of who you are, but it's not necessarily something that you're active in. And that could be a fun role-playing thing where people find out that this is your history and they can either decide whether they like that about you or hate that about you or decide to take advantage of you, so on and so forth. So it would be a neat role-playing aspect to have that history, but not actually be actively operating in it.
I love that because I firmly believe that backgrounds also inform DMs as to how they can approach possible storylines for you as well. So you having escaped from the criminal organization and put that past behind you, and now you're fighting for good and you're doing the right thing, but that shadowy organization knows where you buried your bodies and is coming to get you. That sounds like a good time. I love that idea. You actually kind of stole mine a little bit. But
that's fine.
Well,
that's fantastic.
The other thing I want to point out before we move on, because it occurred to me while you were talking, Megan, because you mentioned the greatest movie of all time earlier, and that's Robin Hood, specifically Prince of Thieves. Second best movie is Disney Robin Hood because everyone in that movie is just amazing.
Yes.
But my point here is you can be a good criminal. There are all sorts of people that break the law in a righteous way and for righteous reasons, and so that's a good dichotomy to have as well.
Yeah. Playing that dichotomy is. I mean, we all play dichotomies like that in our regular lives, right? Mm-hmm. Being able to focus on something like that in a character is always helpful.
I often jaywalk for the greater good.
Only on Tuesdays. Yeah. But absolutely, because then you can go into like the paladin who went against his order because he didn't believe that maybe stop locking up women and children and you freed them. So now you have broken the law of your tenants, but that was for a good reason and you're a good person, right? So it is again, earlier in the episode I mentioned it's definitely in the eye of the morale of the beholder, right? Like it's kind of how you see the world and how you operate in it kind of denotes whether a criminal is good or evil, right? So but yeah, next question. So speaking of talking about criminal organizations, come up with an organization that would have a lot of NPCs that have this background. have you guys had different types of criminal groups that are a little bit more interesting to use?
My favorite criminal organization that I have in my campaign right now, and it's funny because we don't think of them as being criminals, but they very much are. There are a set of about a dozen or so underground martial artist masters that are out there trying to assassinate each other to gain the powers of the other ones. And there are illegal fight clubs that are underground to work your way up to become a master and usurp them. There are the masters that exist out there that are hunting the other masters or other people that are like upstarts that they're trying to keep from getting to the master level. And Megan's character, the monk, how many fighting styles do you have now? 3 or 4, because you've killed these assassins that have come looking for you?
I've killed 3 assassins.
But they're all martial artist masters, and it's a very like loose understanding. It's like not an organization. There's no emblem. There's not even a name for it. It's just we know that we are the masters and we are hunting for others, right? And there can only be one master of each fighting style. And I love this idea, and I would watch the shit out of a TV show that was based around the ideas of like these 12 martial artists that are like Game of Thronesing their way through the world, trying to vie for power with their own dojos, their own fighting styles. And that one is a ninja who was like forsaken what was supposed to happen. Like he no longer follows the code that everyone else does and is a loose cannon. And this one just tries to live a peaceful life. It is the oldest and wisest, but also the most powerful that nobody wants to fuck with, right? Like there's a lot of cool shit in there. And I love this underground organization that if the authorities ever figured out this shit was going on, they would freak out. Like this is existing kind of outside of the realm of what the average person is even aware of. And every once in a while, a master shows up dead, and then enough money gets thrown at the people to clean it up, and no one ever talks about it again. Because Megan, you have killed now 3 people, gotten the mastery. You've killed 3 assassins, gotten their masteries. What did you do with the bodies? You left them lying there.
I did. For all to see that I am the strongest.
As warnings to the others.
Exactly. Definitely not my intent. That's just me being an asshole, but like, and a forgetful player. Let's just put it that way. Burn the bodies, Megan. Noted. I will take that into our next session for sure.
You just are going to be like standing over Dan's character as he sleeps, lighting matches, going, burn the bodies.
Burn the bodies.
Dan's character, nothing, just starts standing at the foot of his bed.
I think my character scares his character already enough.
Perfect.
Anyways, I was thinking along the lines of potentially an organization I would use is I love spies and I love assassins. But I like the ones that are hired by lawful presenting people. So I guess a better way to describe this is, let's imagine like there's a church, but that's like seeking dominance over other religions or cults or what have you. Like they want to be the dominating focus point. And so they are lawful presenting, but they do have a hidden circle of like protectors or assassins that go out and do their evil bidding so that they can continue to be the positive presenting. And this could also work for a government figure, right? Imagine this actually comes more like from the L5R realm, where murdering and hurting other people is going to look really, really bad on your clan. So you have secret spies and secret assassins that no one else knows about, but people kind of know that you probably have them, but you shouldn't have them. But that means that you can remain untainted or and continue to be that positive presence, while in the background you have these spies and assassins doing what they do best in the background to keep you being the number one clan or the number one in government or monarchy or what have you.
I highly recommend that anyone that plays a criminal keeps their taint secret, just like Megan's talking about.
Yes, keep your taint secret. Keep it secret, keep it safe.
And see, I like the idea of the organization being, full of children. The idea of Oliver Twist, these kids have to go out and pickpocket and steal and bring it back to their master, but also to put that idea on its head, thinking of an orphanage that doesn't make enough money to be able to feed its children, right? Now is, they're doing good work, but they need to supplement that good work through criminal acts, and running that way is kind of fun. Similar to how they did it in like King Killer Chronicles and the like.
Yeah, I was saying just Oliver Twist in general,
Yeah, exactly. Oliver Twist is I love the idea of that, having that group of kids that are just there stuck doing it.
Or you can throw it on its head too and do the Game of Thrones version of exactly that, where Varys had his little sparrows, which were all the little kids that would like go out into the world and get secrets and knowledge and see things and report back. And yeah, they were like stealing and pickpockets and stuff at the same time, but they were really dealing in information, and that was Varys's power, right?
Yeah, knowledge is of the power, right? But yeah, interesting. All right. What is a plot hook theme or a set piece feature that a DM or player should be thinking about when this background is being selected by somebody? So let's say you have a player come to your table being like, I have a criminal background. What is something we have to keep in mind as DMs? I can't tell if you're talking, Adam.
I'm not. I'm just sitting here trying to figure out my life, coming up with a plot hook theme or a set piece feature. Okay, so one of the things that I think that every single criminal should have is a rival. Either someone that is chasing them, like law enforcement, someone that knows about their past, someone that is trying to compete with them, whatever it is, you should always, like every good criminal should have a rival of some sort, right? Even if it's not like a high-powered mafia boss, if you're just a street urchin level pickpocket, that's your background, there'd be that kid that was always 2 years older than you and was your bully, and now you're adults, and for some reason you are a fearless adventurer, but that guy still scares you. Right? Like every criminal should have that, the weakness or the contest against someone, and let your DM know that, because a rival is different than an enemy, and it gives you something to overcome as a character without necessarily being life and death.
Yeah, it's more of like the social thing to overcome, right? So yeah, I was thinking that, of course, like if you have a criminal that has a background like that, then they're definitely, you would want to kind of as a DM figure out what your law enforcement looks like. I know we've talked about this on previous podcast episodes where like we have at times put our players in jail for the stuff that they do, just to give them a reminder that like, hey, what you're doing probably isn't exactly correct, so we're going to have a jail episode today, to remind you that, murdering people in cold blood might not be a good thing to do, right? Someone who has a criminal background coming to the table gives you an opportunity to have that sewn in or right away. Like create an NPC that goes along with their background, a private investigator that knows about their history, so has been on their tail for years and just trying to catch them in the act. Like there's a lot of creative things we as DMs can do to kind of lean into that criminal background, especially if they get a little bit more detailed with it. And it's fun to reward that kind of stuff. So that's definitely something I would lean into.
We've been focusing a lot on criminals that have to do it as a matter of trying to stay alive. One thing that I think DMs could also be focusing on is occasionally you'll have somebody with a criminal background who has that, I'm going to steal the Declaration of Independence, or
tax evasion.
If I don't light these fires, I pee the bed.
Jesus Christ.
I love it. Or, like Gone in 60 Seconds, they had that one car that they had never been able to steal, right? What else? The entire Oceans series is about hitting a specific bank, or hitting a specific vault so they never have to do it again, right? Like have that white whale for a character. For what is their exit strategy? How much is enough for them to be able to steal, right? Really leaning on that sleight of hand proficiency that's, baked into the background.
Yeah, absolutely.
To the point, actually, if someone wants to lean into that, remember, there is the book that was published, Keys from the Golden Vault, which are 7 different heists. They're all very good. They've got like very intricate maps, and it's not just like starting off at the museum or the bank or wherever. It starts off with you casing the joint, coming up with the plans, setting up the right people in the right positions. It's fairly intense, and it walks you through the whole endeavor, the whole experience of creating a heist. And it is because it's one of the later adventures, they were keeping an eye on backwards compatibility, which means even with the new rule set, you can use that book very easily.
Yeah, very true.
Fantastic book.
All right, final question. Create a character that would utilize this background. Remember, of course, that it does not have to be perfect mechanical builds, just an interesting character concept, a backstory, or a personality.
I am trying to figure out who is the D&D character that is the least likely to be a thief or a murderer, or like who's all right. So right off the bat, I want an Aasimar paladin with a criminal background. And it is because they don't actually like it's not about them breaking human laws or the laws of the land, although they are willing to do that. It's more about them throwing off the concept of law or order altogether, because they lived that life for so long, and now their personal tenets are going to be, this would be like your questionable oaths, right? Like we had the Oath of Conquest and Oath of Vengeance and stuff in 5th edition, right? So I want an Aasimar paladin that's just the most selfish person in the world, and their tenets are about like everyone needs to just do it on their own, and they have to look out for number one. This could be a really pain in the ass kind of character to have to sit beside at a table, but if you play it properly, I think it'd be really fun to have a paladin that like just believes that not necessarily might makes right, but like survival of the fittest, and everyone is weak for leaning on these other organizations to take care of them when you should be big and strong and do it yourself. Look how great I am, and I am self-made. But also, I'm self-made because I literally steal things from other people, and I beat up people that are weaker than me.
That's fair. Here's the thing. I was wanting to lean into like the building a character that like owned and ran some kind of a gambling ring, which does lead more into the charlatan than it takes you to be a con man versus like being a criminal. But it would be very interesting just to have a group of bards that run a casino, and they use their charisma to bring people in. But then behind the scenes, they have like another group, like, so the character I would build would be one of not necessarily the bouncer, but like the collections folks that go around and collect the debts from people. So this would be a bard that has the spirit to bring you in and the cheer, and like, has that like a almost charlatan background, but basically just leaning into the charisma aspect of things. But then they come after you like the goon, but you don't expect it because they're like probably like a halfling bard, but they use their mind tricks, XYZ, to kind of like trick you into giving you more money and giving up more money. And then also on the flip side, being the bouncer that takes the money if you run away, right? That would be a fun player to make. And then you would have a bard that has both those mentalities of being kind and trickery, like bringing people in with their charisma, but then at the same time having that kind of hardened shell of when it's serious business time, it's serious business time. And I think that would be fun to role play, being able to switch between those two responsibilities and jobs.
I really like the idea of pairing up a bard and a barbarian as just like one of them's the face, the other one's the muscle.
Yeah.
Right. And both with a criminal background, or like the criminal and the charlatan or whatever, right? Like I think that could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I feel like I'm just building a casino full of charlatans and criminals, and it would just be a really fun thing to do.
And they're all super hot.
Yes, all of course, they're all very attractive.
Going door to door collecting protection, set up an entire protection racket with it all. That'd be fantastic.
We are protecting this community from ugly people.
Yeah, there you go. Jesus Christ.
We're protecting this community from halflings and barbarians, obviously. Like, come on now. I've never actually played a full-on thief build, and I think it would just be fun to play the cat burglar. I would love to be able to use rogue, the rogue with the thief subclass, do some second story work, get in and out of a building, and be sneaky the entire time. I think that would be fantastic.
What species would you pick? And you can't say tabaxi for your cat burglar because you don't have those in 5.5 yet.
But how cute would that be?
Enough.
I mean, I feel as if the obvious choice is halfling. Like, I almost feel like that's too on the nose, though. I would probably play it just as a straight up human, just to be able to blend into the scenery.
Yeah, human, because all humans are trash, and it just
Right?
makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So, but I definitely feel like you would also do really well playing the kind of character that got caught but escaped and is now on the run and is now just a part of the party that eventually you get caught and the party is like, we had no idea this happened. Like, and that you were actually a burglar and that's why all of our shit's going missing.
Well, I've got this really annoying habit of just like lifting coin purses. That's just what I do. Sorry,
Yeah,
it's a compulsion.
You would be that guy for sure.
There's one thing I've learned about Sean is that he loves a good coin purse.
Hey-mo.
Ooh, I just thought of another fun one. You could do Kenku, but lean on the shiny thing.
Oh yeah.
Right? So, shiny. I must have that.
No,
Now-
that is way too close to fucking Kender. Holy shit. My blood pressure would be to the roof.
I love it. That would be so much fun for me. Ah.
Oh man. Oh my god. I could just like have it just be the druid or somebody who has an animal familiar that's a crow that always steals things for them, so they're not the one actually stealing anything.
What you do is you have like a pet like howler monkey that is proficient with these tools.
Yeah.
Right. Something with opposable thumbs that is just an animal with a little bit more intelligence than the average beast stat block that is just going to like shrug and like reveal the fact that, oh yeah, I've been stealing all of those things this whole time.
You just I think we just built Aladdin in Abu. I was like, I've heard this before. Where have I heard this before? Well, there you go. Street rat. Take that. All right, folks. Well, final thoughts on this episode. It does seem like we do like having a criminal background, of course, in the land of D&D. That it is, for sure, one that's very easy to jump off of and have a little bit of creativity to it as well. A lot to think about as a DM, of course, just because at the end of the day, you'll want to be able to have your characters play in your world without having to be constantly punished for the fun that they want to have, but also have that moral balance of good versus evil. So again, lots to play with here. Any other final thoughts from you guys?
Bring me the diamond in the rough. That's all I got.
Did you guys see the Will Smith version? Was it any good? I never saw it.
I saw it. It was good. I mean, he's no like Will Robinson, but like.
Did you say Will Robinson?
Did I say Will Robinson? What did I say?
You said Will Robinson, like we're watching
Robinson.
fucking Lost in Space.
Oh my god, I did.
Oh,
Did you see the new Lost in Space though?
I didn't actually see the new Lost in Space, so
The remake, it is not at all faithful to the original by any means, and it's going to piss off purists. But I
Really?
blitzed through that whole thing in about 2 weeks and really enjoyed it. I got like 3 short seasons. It was pretty fun. So,
oh,
yeah.
well, there you go.
Robin Williams was who you were thinking of, by the way.
Oh, 100%. I was just dyslexic for a hot minute.
That's
so
okay.
there we go. The real crime here is that Megan couldn't remember Robin Williams.
I just took half the beginning and half the end and slammed it together. And like, but to be fair, it also labeled a different character. But yes, anyways, at the end of the day, yes, no Robin Williams, but it was good for what it was. I don't hate most of the Disney adaptations, but that one was okay.
Yeah, I'm lukewarm on them. There's a little bit of something to like in every one of them, and a lot of like boring, I think, in a lot of them. But anyways, that's a different episode.
Yeah.
This episode was about criminals. It was about crime, and it was about us being very, very tired late on a Thursday. So thanks for listening to another episode of It's a Mimic, where you never know what you're going to get.
That's all for this background episode of the It's a Mimic podcast. This episode and others can also be found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and most other podcast apps. Please take a second to engage with a like, follow, subscribe, comment, or review to help push our engagement. Thanks for listening to It's a Mimic, where you never know what you're going to get.
Before I say anything else, I just want to say thank you to Greg for becoming our latest Patreon subscriber. This week on It's a Mimic, we're doing a little bit of catch-up and a lot of episodes. So, first of all, there was this episode, of course, that releases today. But then also on the public channels, we've got the Legend Lore episode for the new Eberron book, Forge of the Artificer, and I already know some of you have taken one look at it and gone, that's it? That's the page count? 'Cause it's small. So I sit down with Dave, who is our resident Eberron expert, and he and I flip through most of the pages. He keeps trying to do deep dives all the way through it to really play with the material that's there. We're trying to answer the question, is this worth your money? Then on Thursday, we've got a special episode where I'm sitting down with Scott to wrap up our conversation on converting Pathfinder 2 to D&D 5.5, and this time we're focusing directly on monsters and monster stat blocks, and we actually had a lot of fun with this one. So it's not as difficult as you might think, but a lot of it is kind of intuitive. So, and I hope you guys enjoy that episode, because you're going to be sitting down on Friday with a whole lot more of me and a whole lot more of Scott, as well as Audrey, Gerald, and Robert. And then on top of that, we've got our new Platinum Great Worm from the Patreon, Mecca, who is joining us for a mailbag episode, and then you guys will get to hear his lovely voice sometime early next month as he sits down for his first episode with me to talk about his homebrew setting. So that's a little preview for a couple of weeks from now, but he is jumping in on the mailbag with us, where they've got to answer questions that the hosts have asked. So it's a little bit wild and crazy. On the Patreon this week, we've got the homebrew episode that we missed last week because Adam can't do math and figure out what a calendar looks like. So I was off by a week. I'm sorry. We're going to bump that forward to today. If you're listening to this, it's already come out on the Patreon for anyone that's subscribed to those tiers. But then on Thursday, we also have the Legend Lore Online, where I sit down and go through the Forgotten Realms. All those little PDFs that Wizards of the Coast dropped, the D&D exclusive content there for the Forgotten Realms. Came out with the Forgotten Realms books that came out a couple of months back. So I'm going to be digging through those for everybody. But I'm also going to give you a heads up about next week right now, because we're not going to have a regular episode, at least not in the regular slot. Instead, what we're going to have is a regular mailbag episode with the hosts. 3 hosts that have not done mailbags before, or at least not in a very, very long time. So that'll be fun to get some new voices on some mailbags. That's happening on Monday next week. And then we're going to couple that with the Feywild episode, or Charlie and I are sitting down to talk about the next Seelie Fey that we could find. We did Blink Dogs last time. Check our social media to find out which ones we're going to be talking about this time. And then on Tuesday, instead of a regular episode, we'll be releasing a Christmas Let's Play. We had a lot of fun with the Alien RPG, which was way more work than a regular D&D Let's Play, but this is going to be more in line with our Halloween one that we released a little while ago, which ended in abject travesty. As, well, those of you who listen to it know that the dice utterly betrayed the party. This time, the results are a little bit better. It's going to be a lot of fun, though. So tune in for that. That's on Tuesday, and hopefully it'll carry you into the Christmas break. And then, because I know that there's going to be a lot of driving, a lot of traveling, and a lot of just time off work to do whatever you want, we're just hitting you with all this stuff right now up front. You're going to get the next episode about classes on Thursday. So instead of it coming out Tuesday, we're going to bump it until Thursday, which is Christmas, which is phenomenal and thematic. And we didn't plan it this way, but it makes a lot of sense because we'll be covering druids, and druids can use a sprig of mistletoe as a holy symbol. So there we go. It all worked out nicely. We'll also be talking about druid cantrips as well in the Patreon on Christmas Day as well. And then, just to give you guys a heads up in case you are still chomping at the bit for more Alien RPG over on the Patreon, we will be releasing the 3 raw files. It's a whole lot more content, but you can hear a little bit more of the gameplay, a little bit more of me losing my shit at the players, and a little bit more of the laughter and crosstalk and the insanity. Extra points go to anybody that can figure out what a meat bouquet is. Hit us up in the Discord for the Patreon. So that's fun. And then, of course, we'll have the next Dragons episode on Tuesday, and then another kind of soft launch for a new series that's going to be happening on the Wednesday, followed up by more Gods and Pantheons on January 1st. So that's kind of the rest of December, what we have to look like. We try to give you guys lots to listen to while you're off work or off school or traveling in the car and you don't want to talk to anybody else, so you plug in the headphones. Whatever it is, I know that there's a lot of downtime, so we're just going to give you a shit ton of content, and hopefully that'll help you guys ring in the new year with something fun, entertaining, and inspiring to listen to. But for now, let's jump into an extra bonus little piece for criminals. It's the end of another episode on background, so let's look at a place, NPC, and plot hook that you might be able to tie into the topic of the day. And for criminals, I was thinking obviously about prisons. But we are in a fantastical situation, in a fantastical setting with fantastical prisoners. How do you keep prisoners in lockdown in a fantastical, magical setting? And my answer to that, because I've had a couple of prisons in my campaigns, is to, first of all, hit it with an anti-magic field, or at least a reduced magic field. I would let them still be able to cast non-damage cantrips. That seems to be pretty safe, and it's going to let them be creative enough with Presto or Thaumaturgy or Druidcraft, right? So the idea here is that I want to have a prison be a set piece. Like I said in the episode, every single D&D character that I have ever met has been a criminal to some degree. It's not going to be difficult to lock down a party and to toss them in prison. You're going to have justification for it. And so what I'm going to do is, after the trial, after the guilty verdict, and for those of you that are paying attention, we actually did an episode on law and trials back for the campaign builder like 4 or 5 years ago. I'm sure you can find it on YouTube, or if you go scrolling way back in the history on the public channel. But anyway, after that, assuming that they are not, found innocent, we're going to send them to prison. We're going to take all their gear and we're going to send them off. And I like that idea. I think it's a lot of fun, because I think that we would send them to like a wizard's prison, something designed by a wizard. But it could be more than just that. It could be they get banished to this prison by a enemy wizard, by a beholder, or even a dragon. Like, this could be a demi-plane that they've got to try to get their way out of. But the idea here is it's going to be one big, gigantic, open maze, essentially. It's not going to be super complicated. You're going to be able to wander around and figure the whole, twists and turns of all the area, easily enough. But it's going to have a roof, everything's going to be built of brick, and it's going to be dampened magically, right? So if you try to burrow in any direction, it's not going to work, but there will be a perimeter wall. And so I was thinking, there'd be this massive structure, which is just a series of covered tunnels all the way around on this, stone surface. And then the deal here is that there are no windows, there are no doors, you cannot see out. When you get outside of the structure, you look up and you see just gray sky, and you can't fly. It's like Earthbound has been cast on the area, so even Aarakocra would not be able to make it out of here. And it's just a gray sky above, and no one can climb. You can get up on top of the structure, but it's only 1 story tall, and there's a 4-story tall wall. No turrets, nothing on top of it. It's just a wall that's 50 feet back from the structure, and it goes all the way around this massive, square mile, maybe. It's got this massive wall around it. Here's the fun part. I always add a mimic, so the mimic this time is actually going to be this wall. If you get within 20 feet of it, a tentacle, maybe a tongue, a mouth will open and a tongue will come out. But if you get within 20 feet of this, the wall attacks you. And they shouldn't have access to any spells that are going to do enough damage to this wall. So the idea is there's going to be some sort of puzzle, and I would leave it up to you because it's going to be dependent upon the party that you're running, right? But statues that need to be placed in certain ways, riddles that need to be solved, bricks that need to be pressed in or pulled out in any sort of order that you decide. So there will be a puzzle in order to get out of it. But the person that's going to be able to have all the clues for this is going to be a regular human, an elderly male human named Father Bellium, who was a priest who was wrongly accused and has been sent in here. But no one needs to eat, no one needs to drink, no one needs to sleep, which means he has been awake, wandering around in here as criminals have come in to attack him or victimize him, and then they always try to escape and they run to the wall. And he tries to warn people, but they never listen, so they get eaten. And he knows that there's a way out, but he can't find it. He just knows bits and pieces of it. And then you let the players put the puzzle together based on his 60 years of experience. And then you get this friendly NPC that'll come with you, but he's a little bit crazy. So I think it's just a really fun, more than just a set piece, but an entire session you could probably get out of. You've been banished to this extra dimensional wizard's prison, and The best part is, your players probably deserve it. Anyway, let me know in the comments, do you guys have any sort of magical prisons that you include in your games? Have you ever arrested your player characters? How do you handle incarceration? Because if we're going to have criminals, we've got to have consequences, right? If you'd like to support us, we have a store with some merch and a donate button on our website, itsamimic.com. You can also head to itsamimic.com to find a comprehensive episode guide and more information about the show. We do have a Patreon, which not only offers access to our exclusive Discord server, but also hosts over 100 episodes, including a variety of bonus episodes covering topics like 5th edition book reviews and the campaign builder, spells and gods, fae, homebrew inspiration, and even the Blood War. If you'd like to submit any mailbag questions, please reach out to us through any of the social media links in the show notes of this episode, or send us an email at info@itsamimic.com. This has been an episode of It's a Mimic, where you never know what you're going to get.